Motoring 2011 on TSN is brought to you by Quaker State, Real Durable Oil, and Michelin, a better way forward.
You know, they used to call Calgary Cowtown, but not anymore, and it's got nothing to do with being politically correct. No, this town is all about oil, and it seems that every week another oil company is moving here and building an impressive head office just like this one. And in doing so, they're employing a lot of people. So no, there's no talk about dirty oil here in Calgary. And as you might expect, there's very little talk about hybrid vehicles, which begs the question, why would a company like Lexus pick this city this week to introduce a vehicle called the CT200H, which they're billing as the world's first luxury sportback hybrid?
Here in Calgary, consumers are really conscious of what that natural resource-based economy means. So there's a really strong eco-conscious movement here in Calgary, and we think this is the best place to launch the Lexus CT200H.
It is a more dynamic model than we've had in the past. It has a driver-focused cockpit. The seats are designed to be more sporty. Steering wheel is designed to be more sporty, and it has a sport-tuned suspension system. So again, a much more sporty system than we've had in the past. We have it's a 1.8-liter, 4-cylinder Atkinson cycle engine, so it's focused on fuel efficiency, coupled with our Lexus hybrid drive system, which provides the torque. So between the two, it's an excellent marriage of fuel economy and performance.
And it's a really big deal for us to be marrying both hybrid technology and a really fun-to-drive vehicle in the CT200H. So it's really a marriage of really two great principles, that you can be environmentally conscious and have a great time driving a vehicle that's also the world's first luxury sportback vehicle that's available. And that's a really big deal for us.
They have to come up with a hybrid that people will like to drive. People like the idea of being ecological. They just don't like the idea of driving a boring car. So that's where hybrid have to go in the future, and they made a good step forward with this car.
You know, this new Lexus is a smart, sporty-looking vehicle, and I really like the color. I think they call it yellow micra, and I could see it appealing to younger people, and Lexus hopes so too. However, beginning with the LS400, Lexus has traditionally appealed to an older demographic with more disposable income. And remember, this car starts at around $30,000 and tops out at about $40,000.
There's a number of ways you get young people. We design a car that looks great, and the CT200H looks outstanding. We design it so it's got the utility that they want. We got fold-down back seats, we got a fold-flat front passenger seat. So it's really about designing and developing a vehicle that meets the lifestyle of that younger demographic and giving it to them as the gateway product into the Lexus brand.
They're aiming at the younger crowd, but starting at 30 grand, I'm a bit doubtful. Younger crowd doesn't have 30 grand and plus to spend on a car. It is genuinely fun to drive. There's a sport mode that gives you a little more oomph, a little bit like the CRZ at Honda. They understand that people still want to have fun behind the wheel of a hybrid.
You know, we all know the benefits of the hybrid system, fuel savings, the environment, and so on. But when you buy into a relatively new technology, you have to look at the downside. And what I fear is that you're out in the middle of nowhere and you get a problem with that hybrid electrical system. Well, a lot of people may not know you can't get home on the gasoline engine alone.
The way the system works, it's a synergy system, so both components have to be in operation for it to operate. If one system fails, then the system itself fails, and there's no way to creep home, if you will. Having said that, it's been proven reliable over the years that we've had virtually no failures that I'm aware of either system that have caused that to happen.
Is this the future?
No. Future for me are basically hybrids that you can plug in. I think the next step is there. The Volt is a good example. But all of this will always be a niche market. We're still at over 98% of gas, and it'll stay there because gas engines are getting better. You can buy 100% gas car and get 6 liters per 100 kilometers. The hybrid we got today average between 6 and 6.4. It's good, but it would have to be 3 to be realistically something that you would want to buy.
The vehicle will appeal to, two demographics. We're going to appeal clearly to a younger demographic, and we're going to appeal to those Lexus enthusiasts who understand that the fuel efficiency in this vehicle is something that they too can have in the world's first luxury hybrid sportback vehicle that's available.
Lance Armstrong, eat your heart out. More later on Kenzie's Corner.
Get out your lederhosen, because on this edition of Test Drive we go topless Bavarian style. This is the BMW 650 Cabrio. Going topless Bavarian style is as simple as holding a button for 20 seconds. By the time the intricate ballet is over, the canvas top is neatly stowed and there's a hard tonneau cover in place. Unlike some other high-end drop tops, the Cabrio now has a finished look. It's also one of the few convertibles that is as attractive regardless of whether the top is up or down. The interior of this 650 has been done out exquisitely well. The one thing you might want to invest in, however, and I don't know why it's an option, and it is a $4,500 option at that, is the premium seat package. These seats are not only comfortable, they're heated and cooled and fully articulated. If you want to arrive in first class style, you've got to buy the seats. The Cabrio is motivated by BMW's sweet twin-turbocharged 4.4-litre V8. Force-feeding the engine its air delivers 400 horsepower and a hefty 450 pound-feet of torque. The power is relayed to the rear wheels through an 8-speed manumatic transmission. This thing slips through its gears in a seamless fashion when driven gently. Push a little harder and there's a delightful blap from the exhaust system as the transmission shifts up a cog. It also rev matches on the way down, and the paddle shifters work regardless of shifter position. If you like cameras, you're going to love this BMW 650 Cabrio. To begin with, there's 2 cameras right at the front end of the wheel arch. These things, if you're pulling out of a blind intersection, all you have to do, edge forward so these things stick out. Now you can see what's coming to the left and right. The second 2, they sit right underneath here on the door mirrors. They show what's to the left and right of the vehicle. Now inside, there's also a night vision camera. The beauty of it, it can see well beyond the headlights. If there's a dog or a deer or a human being ahead, it shows up in the display long before the lights actually illuminate it. That way it doesn't come as a surprise. The last camera, well, it's a typical backup camera, but unlike so many which sit out in the open where they're susceptible to dirt and grime and rain, which all obscure the view, this one, it sits right behind the BMW badge. That keeps the lens clear and your vision clean. Beyond the powertrain's flawless behaviour, it's the ability to tweak things according to the tone of the drive that caps things off. The combination of the adaptive drive and dynamic drive systems allows the driver to tune the engine, transmission and chassis to suit the driver's mood. In the comfort and normal modes, the transmission pulls away in second gear and the throttle has a relaxed response. Selecting the Sport or Sport Plus modes ramps up the urgency of the power delivery. The Cabrio now pulls away in first gear, the throttle feels crisper, and in the case of the Sport Plus mode, the dynamic traction control system is engaged. This allows a little wheel spin, and so the brawny V8 chirps the enormous 285/30R20 tyres with great ease. BMW described this Cabrio as being a 4-seater. Now, I've left the roof down to preserve a modicum of my modesty. The reality is, this car is a 2+2 at best. The problem? I have this seat set for my short 30-inch legs. Well, this is when the problems start. With the seat back, the legroom disappears. Now, in fairness, with the roof up, there is plenty of headroom. However, a taller driver, kiss your legs goodbye. The Cabrio also earns adaptive dampers and active roll bars. This sharpens the handling characteristics. Factor in BMW's delightful active steering system and you have a car that's surprisingly responsive to driver input. It's just not what's expected of a full-bodied convertible. While this 650 Cabrio has got a ton of power under the hood, that engine has to tow around over 2,000 kilograms of leather-lined luxury. In the end, it means that this car is not so much a racy ragtop as it is a grand tourer of the first order. And on a day like today, it's not such a bad thing.
Are you a male heterosexual motorist easily distracted by scantily clad female pedestrians? Well, the Menzoid has a solution to that problem, and it might just be the biggest thing since intermittent wipers. And you can see more on motoringtv.com.
I think the extended range is a great thing. I think it gives the option where it could be used in the city with not using any fuel at all. And then when you want to go on a trip on the weekend, you can use the gas motor and not have to worry about, finding a charging station or somebody with a plug.
When we were driving the new Nissan Quest, and I mentioned how impressed I was with the short turning radius on such a large vehicle. Well, you can imagine my surprise when I tried that same maneuver on the much smaller Lexus on a fairly wide street here in Calgary. Now, it may not be a big issue in the wide open spaces of the prairies out here, but it can be in everyday downtown driving. It's just one more thing you should put on your shopping list when looking for a new vehicle. All right, let's head to the Quaker State Garage and join Bill Gardiner.
Well, we're here at Nissan Canada in their parking lot with a Fiat 500, and a lady from Nissan Canada just drove by, looked over at the Fiat, and Brad was standing beside it, and she said cute, so I knew she was talking about the car. Now, definitely not going to have a problem with turning radius on this Fiat 500. Short wheelbase, it'll turn on a dime. What I want to talk about is the engine. That's what I found interesting. Now, I'd read an article in a Metroland paper about the Fiat 500, and they talked about a two-cylinder 875cc engine, turbocharged engine. Now, it turns out that engine is only available in the European version of the Fiat 500, but here in North America, we get that 1.4 liter overhead cam four-cylinder engine. Now, when I read the specs on the 1.4 engine that's in the North American version of the Fiat 500, I found something kind of interesting, and that's the fact that the engine block is made of cast iron. All North American V8s years ago used to be all cast iron, but there's a move towards aluminum for many, many years. And in most cases, small engines, small cars that are light, they usually cast the block out of aluminum, and then they put iron liners in the cylinder bores to take the wear of the piston rings and the piston. And that's the best way to do it because it saves you a lot of weight. Now, this engine holds 3.8 liters of crankcase lubricant to lubricate that engine. That's a pretty good crankcase capacity for such a small engine, but anytime you have a small engine that's really putting out a lot of performance in any kind of machinery, whether it's car, truck, motorcycle, I don't care what it is, when that engine's really being leaned on hard, you want to make sure you've always got enough crankcase oil in that vehicle, whatever it is. Now, just to give you an idea, this 30cc four-stroke engine in the Ryobi string trimmer, it takes 2.2 ounces or 65 milliliters of crankcase oil to lubricate the engine. It's 20W50 engine oil. If it was down even the smallest amount, you could do some damage to it. And here's what a lot of people don't tell you when they're writing up cars and talking about cars. All the reciprocating and rotating parts, all the moving parts in your engine are primarily cooled by the engine oil that's splashing around in that engine. That's a piston out of a 350 Chevy V8. And if you imagine how much heat is driven into the crown of that piston by combustion, the combustion event, and how much heat is put in that piston by the friction of the skirt and the rings against the wall of the cylinder, there's a lot of heat going into that. So it's that 5 or 6 liters of crankcase oil in that pickup truck engine that keeps the piston cool when that engine's working hard. You know, I don't care if it's a big V8 like the engine that this piston came out of, a small 1.4 liter four-cylinder like the Fiat 500, or that tiny 30cc engine in the Ryobi string trimmer. There's only so much oil keeping that engine alive. So you got to keep it full, keep it clean, and change it on regular intervals. That is the key to engine longevity. Till next week, I'm Bill Gardiner for Motoring 2011.
The Ford F-150 has had a powertrain overhaul. This truck can handle anything. Over 400 horsepower. Class-leading 32 miles per gallon.
4 new truck engines, each delivering improved fuel economy and performance.
This is a great opportunity for customers to come out in a no-pressure experience and test drive the new F-150 in a variety of different manners. At a dealership, you can take a test drive for sure, but not with a 6,500-pound trailer. And a lot of people that drive trucks, they tow. And so that's why we're here, and we have the competition here to prove how great our new Ecoboost engine is when it's towing. We have, just a planned out route around Campbellville where customers can take an Ecoboost 3.5 liter V6 out for a test drive.
I've got a 2010 F-150 with a 5.4. The Ecoboost is a completely different animal. It's just a beautiful truck, power galore, torque galore, rides better. I don't know what else I can say. It's a remarkable truck.
With 4 new engines, including a 3.5-litre twin-turbocharged Ecoboost, the highlight of the day was doing what only a lucky few get to do.
I own a construction business, and it's funny that I drive a sports car and not very practical every day. So jumping into these, it's nice to have the same amount of power.
There's no pressure. You're going to have a good time. You're going to be educated on the product. You get a chance to actually, if you watch, especially over here in the drag race area, you guys are beating on the product. You can't do that when you go to a dealership. These vehicles are being tested in real-world applications. So, I mean, people are happy with that.
That was fun! Oh my gosh. This is a really, really good idea. I didn't realize that all the engines are all new. And as the one rep said, they look the same outside, but they're all different inside. And so this is a good opportunity for all the men to get out and play with them.
Today we had over 470 people, and the Canadian response has been great. And just having a chance to get out and talk to people, it's been great.
Closed captioning of Motoring 2011 is brought to you by
Greener, fuel efficient, global. This is Chevrolet Now, driving our world forward.
Contrary to popular belief, I don't hate bicycles. I used to ride my bike to work in the summer, and more on that in a minute. My daughter still rides her bike to work, and more on that in a minute too. Bike athletes are the fittest in the world. They get on those velodromes and they're going a mile a minute. It's fantastic stuff. Now, road racing on a bike, I got stuck in a small town in France once for about 6 hours because the Tour de France was going through. I thought, cool. It's those guys going 100 miles an hour screaming to the finish line. No. That's just the last 100 meters every day. The rest of the time, there's 100 guys on bikes wearing Lycra shorts going like this through town. It's worse than soccer. Now, for recreational biking, I got no problem with that. Some of my classmates at a reunion in Vancouver were riding through Stanley Park. It was cool. They got home just in time to watch the riot. And if you're biking through downtown Montreal, well, that's a cool thing to do as well. But there are people here in the city of Toronto who think bikes can be part of the solution to our commuting woes. Are they crazy? Most people I know who work in the city of Toronto take an hour to drive there. If you rode a bike, you get there just in time for lunch, turn around, ride back again. It's stupid. Besides, it's ultimately dangerous. The city of Toronto took a lane out of a major north-south artery that had been southbound in the morning, northbound in the evening, very smart, and replaced it with bike lanes. They counted the bikes and the cars, 300 bikes, 10,000 cars, and that was in the summer. In the winter, well, the bike lanes were full of snow. They plowed off the road. Besides, who's riding their bike in the wintertime? Absolutely nuts. Now, the current administration has decided to replace the bike lane and go back to cars again. So $85,000 to install the bike lane, $200,000 to take it out again. Why didn't they just ask me? I could have told them. Besides, riding in traffic is ultimately dangerous. This particular street, for example, has a bike lane in it, not that this guy's riding in it, but the street is one-way southbound. The bike lane is 2 ways. They do that because the bikies wouldn't pay any attention to the road signs anyway. We had a situation here in Toronto a day or so ago. A bikie whacked a pedestrian. He ran a red light and put her in the hospital with a fractured skull. The people coming out of one of these laneways, they're expecting traffic to come this way. They pull out and a bikie comes by. It's completely stupid. As my history teacher in high school used to say, he collected epitaphs, strange guy. Here lies the body of Jonathan Ray, who died defending his right of way. He was right, dead right as he rode along, but he's just as dead as if he'd been wrong. And here's a bikie now, and I'm gonna join him. Just to show you I'm not prejudiced, I got my bike right here, and I'm gonna go for a little ride. Okay. Oh no, oh no, ah, ow! Okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. I'm Jim Kenzie.
Do you know why you should go to Motoring TV right now? The Menzoid says driving can make or break your marriage.
Ted says all cyclists are unhappy. Howard says stop whining about gas prices and do something. Check out some seriously cool cars and how cool is your ride, and join our Facebook family for the total motoring experience.
So we've had our first drive behind the wheel of the Lexus CT200 hybrid. First off, I gotta tell you, I'm a bit of a, well, should I say agnostic when it comes to the hybrids. I think the idea is great. I think the research being done by companies like Toyota and Lexus is invaluable when you look to the future and we finally decide what the alternative fuel will be. However, for yours truly, you get a small modern car with a modern internal combustion engine, which this company builds. You're gonna get the same benefits you get in a hybrid with proper driving habits for a lot less money. But from a business point of view, Lexus must know what it's doing. 13% of its sales last year were hybrids. The big question for this company now is, will the young people go into the showroom and will they buy? Well, if I knew the answer to that question, I wouldn't be standing here now in a parking lot on a frigid spring afternoon in Calgary. Anyway, that's it for now. We'll see you next time out as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
For that type of car, the kiss of death is to be labeled like a chick car. So they're gonna have to work on that from the very, very beginning.
Motoring 2011 on TSN has been brought to you by Quaker State, Real Durable Oil, and Michelin, a better way forward.